My favorite artist of all time. Wow. I mean, you really throwing these at me tonight. Probably Nas. Like, Nas is probably my favorite MC of all time. But, you know, I'm sure a lot of people would debate that and say that that was a bogus claim. Of course, you know, I'm a fan of all the greats, Jay, Big, Pac. But, you know, that's on a national scale. But who doesn't like them? So, I mean, actually, you know, my favorite rapper right now is Nicki, though. Well, you know, the two people that you just mentioned were, you know, actually my two favorites. Definitely Speaking to No ID and Traxter, of course, two legends, you know, seminal figures in Chicago hip-hop that I've always admired and I've always looked up to. I looked at them as kind of, you know, the forefathers, you know, and I know there's more to it, but those are the two guys that really kind of shaped the sound of the city. And, you know, 10 years ago, you know, when I bought One Day It'll All Make Sense, and, you know, I had Resurrection and Can I Borrow a Dollar, and when Adrenaline Rush came out, and, you know, I never imagined that, you know, 10 years later or whatever, I'd actually be, you know these guys on a personal level or, you know, be able to interview them at a capacity like that. So it was really a good thing. But, you know, there's been a lot of memorable interviews, like the Prolific interview was very successful, people like that. Of course, Ron Fest and GLC are also entertaining to talk to. So, you know, they were all really good, and I just wish I had more time to interview more people. As you can tell, I really haven't done many in a long time. Twista, of course, Twista was a good interview as well. But, you know, things get busy. Interviews take a lot of time, so I'm trying to find some people that can help me do some video editing so I can really get some more video interviews of more artists out there. Yeah, I mean, you know, that, and a lot of times that you know, just being a Chicago-only blog, you know, kind of hinders you in what you can do. And I try to stay true to it as much as I can because I get a lot of submissions from all kinds of artists. You know, the labels send me stuff, PR firms send me stuff. That's really dope. But, you know, I've kind of put myself in a box where I just, you know, deal with Chicago artists. But it's actually been very good for me. And, you know, that's what I'm here to do. I feel like a lot of websites are very just, you know, the market's kind of oversaturated with national hip-hop blogs. And that's kind of one of the things when I started Take Short Drives that I wanted to make sure that it stood itself apart, you know, it stood apart from, you know, all these other thousands and thousands of blogs out there. Because, I mean, I'm sure you're familiar. There's so many of them, and they're just scatterbrained. And a lot of them are just clones of, you know, Nah Right or Two Dope Boys. They just kind of all post the same material. So I wanted to set myself apart, do something different. But a lot of times, yeah, it does bother me that I can't cover everybody. But you know, that's not my MO. That's not what I'm here to do. You know, not really. I wasn't sure what it was going to do because, you know, when I started out doing this is just a hobby, man. Like, really, more than anything, I'm just a hip-hop fan. I've been a hip-hop fan since, you know, I was 8 years old, like in 88, 89. You know, almost 20 years I've been listening to, you know, nothing but hip-hop. And, like, I always knew that I wanted to work in it in some capacity, but I'm obviously not a rapper. I'm not a beat maker. I don't try to be a producer, you know, but I knew I wanted to contribute to the art form and to the culture somehow. And, you know, this site has blessed me to do that. But no, I really didn't. I didn't really start out with too much of a purpose, and it just started kind of growing in popularity, and I started taking it really seriously, and you know, it's definitely surpassed my expectations, 100%. But I'm just thankful that people check it out, come back every day. I mean, it's hard to get a steady fan base of people that come back every day and support what you're doing. So I thank everybody that checks out the site, even the haters, even the people that, you know, don't like me or the music that I post. You know, I still thank you for coming back and, supporting Chicago and supporting the artists. You know, the crazy thing about that is, like, I saw that picture, somebody sent it to me, and I almost did not post it. Like, I almost was just like, because a lot of times I get a lot of, you know, submissions from clothing companies or streetwear companies, and I have personal relationships and know a lot of these people, and I like them, but, you know, I can't post everybody's stuff all the time. But, like, I almost didn't post that shirt just because I'm like, well, you know, I just didn't almost, you know, I almost didn't post it, whatever, for whatever reason, but I did, and immediately, like, within seconds and minutes of me posted, the comments just started loading up of, you know, people just going crazy about it, you know, that were mad about it. You know, just about every artist on the shirt chimed in. You know, No ID chimed in. It was crazy. Like, I think it definitely, between that post and Knowledge's response to that, those were two of the most controversial posts. You know, well over 100 comments on there. My personal thoughts on it, like, I think it's great. I mean, I understand people might be mad and, you know, they don't feel like those people are representing the city, but I don't think that when the T-shirt was created, it was to say that these guys are, you know, the only rappers or the best rappers in the city. But all of them on the shirt have their own respective buzz, and I personally like their music. I like the people that were involved, and, you know, it's just more of that Chicago hate. People didn't like to see that, but I definitely, you know, support the artists on there. I thought the shirt was cool. I just couldn't believe that people were so offended by that. But, you know, I'm sure it was a great publicity for the shirt. I hope they sold a few. I never got one. They never gave me one, so I don't know. But I do see people wearing them around from time to time.